Freshman 15. As you work your way through this semester, we want to provide you with tools and tips for success academically and personally. Today, I am honored to speak with Ruby Hedin, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
I'm Ruby Hedin, and I do counseling with military and families. I've been a counselor for 13 plus years, and I'm a UTA alumni, and I went to community college for my first 2 years of college.
Ruby, thank you for joining us for this week's Freshman 15. I would like to begin our discussion by looking at how interconnected we are with the people around us. For example, students often share how they feel the demands of school or work and family are pulling them in opposite directions. Some may even feel overwhelmed or trapped by these expectations. Can you give us a framework to help us understand why we feel this way?
Having to juggle school, work, family, friends may seem overwhelming and stressful. If we think about the expectations that our parents have of us, which is really unrealistic, is why aren't we coming home earlier? How many times a day are you going to call me? Things that, or even influence our career decisions, which is really unrealistic. They may want you to be a doctor and you may not be able to do that. So sometimes we just have unrealistic expectations from work as well. They may want to work you to work hours that are crazy and long hours that impede on you being able to work, focus on school. Your friends may want you to skip class, and they may want you to stay up all night and you end up going slugging in to take your test when you can't even think clearly. We are creating a world of stress and overwhelming feeling just from all the expectations that people have of us that are unrealistic. And we're not going to know how to juggle all that stuff, and we end up suffering from it.
Do these emotional conflicts impact our general effectiveness? And if so, how?
When we're stressed and overwhelmed, not only does our life end up being affected by it, every area of our life ends up being affected by it. From when we have the demands of family and friends trying to spend time with us, and we try to make that time, we feel stressed and overwhelmed. And when we do pull out time for our friends, we end up neglecting other things. And as we're working, we're not really focusing on work because we put aside doing that paper or studying for that exam at the last minute, so we're not really doing an effective job at work. And then when it comes to going home and pulling all-nighters, you didn't really get any sleep. So then our sleep ends up being affected by it also, because not just from pulling all-nighters, but maybe you can't sleep because you're so stressed out from all the stuff that you have to get done. So then we aren't functioning at our best. And so we make silly mistakes at work, or when we're taking that test because we're not alert and not focusing, we end up making mistakes on the exam and end up barely passing because we waited till the last minute to study for that exam.
Are there any practical tools that you could share with students to help them develop these healthy boundaries in their lives?
If you're feeling pulled in many different directions, stop and think and ask yourself, what is it that I need to actually do? And write a list and start taking a calendar, planner, and start writing out those things of stuff that needs to be done, like work and classes and papers that are coming up. Schedule it all out. And then ask yourself, what is it that I really want to do? And write a list of those things in order of priority. And then see where it can fit in on your calendar. If it can't fit, that's okay. Everything doesn't have to fit into your schedule. You can make time for it in the future sometime. And it's okay when people ask you to help them out with something. It's okay to say no. They're going to find somebody else to help them. Sometimes we have to take care of our needs first. And it's okay to say no and just take a breather, a relaxation, respite for yourself, just so that you can recharge and so that you are focused on what you need to get done.
Ruby, thank you for these practical ideas for setting healthy boundaries. How about helping us understand the signs of unhealthy boundaries? Are there things that should alert us that we've not set good boundaries in our life?
Someone keeps pushing and not respecting the boundaries that you've set with them. That's a huge warning sign of unhealthy boundaries. And unhealthy boundaries can be defined as someone not respecting your wants, your needs, your wishes, your values that you've set, or your belief systems. And sometimes parents are the biggest violators of unhealthy boundaries because they have such a hard time of letting go. So some signs may be like you feel responsible for their happiness or the way they're feeling. You feel guilty for letting them down. You feel like you have to make everyone happy, so you're the yes man. Some other signs may be that you just don't tell them the truth because you don't want to hurt their feelings. That's not a healthy boundary either. And just people in general disregarding what it is that you say, and every time you set a limit, they just push it. That's an unhealthy boundary sign as well.
One final question. Scripture suggests that people with which we associate will influence our character. How can we apply healthy boundaries in these daily relationships?
You've heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together. Well, it's pretty true. The people that you choose to hang around are going to influence you. If you're studious and the other person is not, you're eventually going to become like them because the more you hang around them, you want to fit in. So we end up tending to do things that they do, end up having their belief systems, their values, even that's not something we intended to happen. That's just what happens. It's called social influence. We try to fit in. And so they can end up negatively affecting us in ways that we don't even realize. So what I suggest is find people that are positive. Ask yourself what it is or who it is that you want to become, and find a group of people that are positive that's going to have a positive influence on you and spur you towards where you want to go. And one thing that I highly suggest is Chi Alpha. They are a positive influence, and I personally am an alumni of Chi Alpha and can speak for myself that they have made a great impact on my life and helped me become who I am today. Looking back in my college years, if I didn't have Chi Alpha there, I don't know what I would have done. So look into the group, know that they're a positive influence and will help you go in the direction you want to go to.
Ruby, thank you again for making this investment of your time in the students at TCC. In addition, I want to thank everyone who has joined us for this discussion. We want to hear your feedback. Let us know your thoughts about this topic or send us some ideas for future discussions. Until next week, remember, you're not alone. And if you feel stretched, it's just because you're learning. Before we finish up, Ruby, is there any final thought you would like to share with this year's freshman class?
I wish somebody had told me, focus on your school and not on your friends. Maybe my parents did and I just didn't listen to them, but that's what I did. And so I ended up spending way too much time in college. I was a student for life, and my school suffered for it. I don't even want to say what my undergrad grades were, but it took me forever to graduate from grad school and start my career, and I was in my 30s before I ever started. So my one advice to you is focus on college, because your college friends are not going to be there later on in life, and you have to deal with the consequences of your choices.